the Retro Network Podcast.
That's nothing new, sweetheart. You enjoy it, but it's from well before your time.
And that was a segue I had not intended, but good for you.
The flagship show for the Retro Network Podcast channel.
Yes, this is the TRN Podcast. Jason and Mickey with you.
Yes!
Get ready for the latest pop culture news.
We've got plenty of recurrent events headlines to get to.
Star Trek episode 49. Cobra la 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 la.
Wow, we're still making Tomb Raider movies?
What is up with that?
And topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past.
If I commissioned somebody to write me a song about the feeling I get when I think about the 80s, this would be it. Defunct department store mascots that should be Funko Pops.
The little elf from Heels.
All right, Funko, are you listening? Probably not. Did you watch a lot of Mr. Rogers?
No, I couldn't stand it.
Really? You hater. You freaking Mr. Rogers hater.
And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network Podcast, Jason.
Mental note taken.
And Mickey.
Have you ever had an afternoon after-nap hangover?
And welcome into another week on the Retro Network Podcast, episode 34. You've got Jason here. Mickey is also here. How you doing, sir?
I've got heartburn real bad.
That happens to me too, man. It's just the age we are. Heartburn is a normal thing now. What were you eating?
Pizza and moonshine. Well, I wasn't eating moonshine. I was drinking moonshine.
Pizza and moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I eat pizza, I gotta have a beer. So I can understand the connection there with pizza and alcohol.
Well, I only drink the moonshine to steady myself every now and then. Sometimes I get so steady I can't even move, though. So
I don't know. This is good because we're talking about food this week, but just the pizza and beer combination, it's like a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm. I let the dog have a little bit of moonshine last night too.
Oh no.
And what people don't know, before we went on the air, I was trying to Google moonshine farts because I was going to read something about that, but I ended up typing that to you in Skype. So
yeah,
instead of the Google search bar.
I'm like, is this some kind of password for the Retro Network now?
No, but you're giving me an idea.
Moonshine farts. Yeah. So what's been happening this week, man?
Not a lot. Just working and reminiscing and dreaming when I go to bed at night about food I missed since we put the topic up for people to vote on. This is my wheelhouse. This is my bag. I could sit and talk to people about old fast food and old snacks and junk food and candy and stuff for weeks, months, years on end.
Yeah, it seemed like we struck a chord with the listeners just from the poll results, but then the feedback that we got this week too. I'm like, whoa, yeah, that was a good choice for especially you to talk about. We were talking a little bit off the air too that I don't know. I guess I lean more towards the snacks and the drinks and the junk food more than the fast food items that I'm really nostalgic about. So I've got a few that I'm really passionate, but I stick to my wheelhouse at the fast food restaurants. And if they bring something back good, if not, it's not going to upset me too much.
Well, we could put on the poll in the future. We could talk about 80s junk food, 90s junk food, cereals of the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of already touched on soft drinks once before, but yeah, I mean, we got several more food topics. If people were excited about this one and voted it overwhelmingly, then we may have to put more food topics on the poll list in the future.
I agree. Yeah, it's a very deep well.
And folks, if your choice didn't win, don't worry. It don't mean it'll never be on another poll. Those choices are still on the sheet. We'll still put them back there and give them another shot to come up again.
Which reminds me, I forgot to put that up on Patreon last week. I was going to put up our master list so people could see what we've come up with so far, and they could even contribute if they want to. And yeah, we'll definitely put those other three topics back in there. I know I think the poll was about 46%. I did write it down here that they voted food, and then the other couple of items there were in the 20% range. So there was definitely some interest there. But yeah, we've got another one for you to vote on this week too. And we're going to do a little bit different. It's not exactly different topics, but different years. And we'll explain that coming up at the end of the show towards our wrap-up time. Put together the grocery stories this week, man. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I really liked re-listening to it. The story I told about Daniel eating Kestner's lunch, I never get tired of hearing it, even if I'm the one telling it. So I listened back to it, and Tiny commented on Patreon that, of course, people I think listening know by now that Tiny is a good friend of mine, but he posted over on Patreon that when he heard me say he was going to tell my favorite story, he knew that was going to be the one.
Yep, I did see that. I did see that, and yeah, it was fun to put together. I had to find a nice image of a aisle, going down the grocery aisle, and then that that music. I wanted something really cheesy, that music that grocery stores love to play. At least back in the day, they did, and I think that matched up well with the experience or ambiance of working at the grocery store.
When it comes to music in the grocery store, we always had, modern music. Well, when I say modern, I was working there like 94 to 2001 or 2 or whatever. There was a mix of late 80s, early 90s, soft rock or pop or whatever you want to call it, which was kind of cool for a grocery store. The bad thing is it was always on a loop of about 70 songs. There's only so many times you can hear Maneater by Hall & Oates before you just want to shoot yourself somewhere.
Yeah. We had, so the two managers that worked at my store, and we're, I guess, getting off a little bunny trail here, but they chose different music. So one was top 40. It was the latest songs. And then the other one was more that kind of laid back, mellow. It was still, it wasn't like music, but it was easy listening, I guess you would say. So depending on who was at the store and when, we got different types of music. But yeah, we'll save that for another episode. But yeah, we've got one episode that we're going to release probably not this week, but next week over there on Patreon. And if you haven't checked it out, we've got the first episode for free. So take a listen, and if you want to hear more, if it struck a chord with you, we're going to have the second episode coming up, and it'll be available to all levels, starting at $2. So we appreciate you guys listening to that this week, and give us some feedback on there too. Coming up, though, man, we've got a great episode. It's weird, like last week when we talked recurrent events, there was a ton of food stuff. This week, I've got no food stuff in the recurrent events, but everything else is food.
Well, then let me throw one in right quick.
Okay, go for it.
I found the Pringles, the Reuben sandwich Pringles
at
Walgreens this week.
How were they?
They are. I've not tried them yet. We're going to try to video it maybe later today or tomorrow. So they are out at Walgreens. And something else new we found were lemon cream Kit Kats. And those we did try, and they are phenomenal.
I love a good lemon cookie, the lemon flavor. So with the Kit Kat, I love those pumpkin pie ones they released last year. They were a little on the spice side, but I thought they tasted great. And it seems Kit Kat is kind of getting in that game now where they're trying new flavors.
They're not necessarily trying new flavors for them. There are over 60 flavors of Kit Kats you can get in Japan. And my oldest daughter loves them. She orders them off Amazon, and we've tried a ton of different ones. But, now they're like, well, we've already got the formula. Let's just market them here in the U.S. So these lemon cream have been around for a while in Japan, but it's like a white chocolate, but it's a lemon flavored white chocolate. The little crispy stuff inside. Man, they're really good. And we also had some raspberry cream Kit Kats too.
Ooh, so sounds good, man.
Well, that satisfies people's recurrent events news for food. So now we can start the show proper.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a lot happening this week, mainly in the streaming side and the movies. New Goonies TV show in the works coming up we'll talk about, but there's a little twist to that. And I was messaging you. We've got some rumor. I don't know I guess it's more than a rumor now, because they've confirmed some even codes on Walmart's website that a new G.I. Joe toy line is coming this year. So I'm excited about that, and we'll talk about that coming up. And of course, in the TRN Time Machine, sponsored by Retro Days, of course, you guys have spoken like we talked about. We are talking discontinued fast food items. just Googling it, Mick, this week was enough to get my wheels turning and remember a couple things that, oh yeah,
You
I
had to
forgot about
Google
that.
it?
I did, man.
Holy cow.
I didn't have, I don't have 5 things right at the top of my head that I can just boom, 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 like you. So
I've got 205 things at the top of my head that I wish they'd bring back.
Well, then I guess you'll be taking the lead on this, the topic this week. But yeah,
Well, there's an idea for a new show, Mickey's Most Wanted, where I just talk about old food that we no longer have.
There you go. All right, but first we're going to get into those recurrent events. All right, leading off recurrent events this week, we got a list of voice actors now for Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe show over there on Netflix, and I was pretty intrigued by the talent that he's wrangled up to voice the characters on the new Masters of the Universe show. What was your first reaction looking at this list as far as just the voice actors go?
As far as just the voice actors go, I think they're trying to compensate by hiring all these big name people to distract away from the actual show itself. So I don't know. They'd have to be excited about what they're doing, I guess, or they wouldn't be doing it. But the big thing I'm disappointed in is Mark Hamill is doing Skeletor when Alan Oppenheimer is doing Mossman. Now, Mark Hamill will probably be great, but Alan Oppenheimer, for people who don't know, was the original voice of Skeletor on the Filmation series. And I'm sure they're wanting to get away from that, but come on, you've got the man there. Let him do Skeletor.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. I'm glad that they kind of brought him on the show, but what, Mossman's going to be like 1 episode maybe? He's not going to be like a regular character, I wouldn't think.
It's hard
but,
to tell.
It's, a lot of this I think was catering to, hey, this is the almighty Kevin Smith, and here's just the list. We got Mark Hamill doing Skeletor, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman for the Batman animated series back in the 90s. He's Merman. And these are just a list of people that kind of connected with me. Some of the younger actors that they got for Prince Adam and so forth, I didn't put on this list. Stephen Root, who you'll know as Milton Wadhams on Office Space. He's Cringer. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy. She's going to be Tila. You got Dietrich Bader, who is... you know who he is from the Drew Carey Show and Office Space?
Yeah.
His voice is going to work, I think, pretty good. But he's going to be King Randor and Trapjaw. Alicia Silverstone, she's Queen Marlena. You've got Henry Rollins as Triclops. Jason Mewes, who, of course, is Jay and Silent Bob. Stinkor. And Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, is a character called Alina. I'm not sure who that is in the Masters of the Universe world, but and of course, like we said, Alan Oppenheimer is Mossman. But so, what is the exactly plot of the show? That
have you not seen this?
I have not seen the
Masters of the Universe fans. Do not get your hopes up.
Okay.
So Tila is the star of the show. Adam and Tila have a son named Hero, who is in this show as a kid. And after a battle with Skeletor, the power sword got lost, so Prince Adam is stuck as Prince Adam. He is a stay-at-home dad while Tila goes out and does the fighting.
Wow.
With Battle Cat and Orko being there as like comedy relief nannies to help Prince Adam raise Hero. This is not your Masters of the Universe, folks. This is them using the property to create a whole nother show. So
weird. So a Masters of the Universe show without He-Man.
Well, I'm sure something will happen at some point where they find the power sword and he becomes He-Man. But yeah, I'm not. I plan on skipping this. This is not anything I have any interest in seeing something like that myself. But
well, I'm gonna wait until I see some trailers and stuff. And of course, I think we both dropped Netflix, so I was leaning towards maybe picking it back up for a month if this drops, all in one swoop and I can binge it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll drop the same time as the new Stranger Things, and you can just knock them both out at one time.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Come on, Netflix, do it for me. But yeah, I don't know. I was impressed with the voice cast, and I had not read the whole synopsis, so that is interesting the way they're going with that. We'll have you all chime in on that this week. Tell us what you think about that synopsis. Let's go to Disney for a while. I think this might be the biggest news of the week. Rick Moranis. It's funny how we talk about these people on the show. It was just a couple weeks ago we were talking about Ghostbusters, and it'd be nice to get him back and have a complete, work him back into the story. We all know he was retired from acting. Apparently not. He is coming back. He's doing a new sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids called Shrunk. It'll be the first time he's in a live-action film since 1997, which was the sequel Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. They're bringing back the original director, Joe Johnston, and Moranis took to Twitter this week and simply said, "Honey, I'm back." So I thought that was great, man. I guess he's to the point now where he feels like he can get back into acting some. I'm sure his daughters are grown and probably getting on with their lives, so he's not exactly that stay-at-home dad that he wanted to be like he was back in the the 90s.
I've got another theory.
Mm-hmm.
Disney backed the armored truck up to his front door
and dropped off a bunch of cash. Yeah. That could be it too. I don't know, man. I'm sure he doesn't mind that, but I thought that was great.
But now that he's back, though, there is still time for him to do a cameo in the Ghostbusters movie.
That's what I was thinking too. They're probably in. I don't know if they've probably finished shooting by now, but you can always work in a cameo somewhere, which would be
even
great.
an after credit scene.
Right. Yeah.
So
that would be great. And then speaking of another Disney franchise, The Mighty Ducks is going to have a sequel series at Disney Plus starring Lauren Graham. And it was also released that Emilio Estevez is reprising his role as Coach Gordon Bombay. And
I seen a photo of him on the ice in his suit from the filming of this.
I missed that. Yeah,
he is still looking good.
Well, that's coming up on Disney Plus. That the new Shrunk movie that Rick Moranis is in, I don't think they've released as a time frame as far as that movie goes, but I did say they think it's going to be a theatrical release and not Disney Plus. But heading back to Disney Plus, the Rocketeer reboot is back in development. It was originally announced back in 2016, and it seems like they got a new writer for the sequel movie this week, which they're going to gear that one towards Disney Plus. Now, the story that they originally were going to do for the sequel back in 2016 followed a young African-American woman who dons the jetpack to stop a scientist from using advanced technology to turn the tide of the Cold War. So this was, it sounded like maybe decades later from the original movie, which I thought would be a fun time to revisit. But no word if they're going to keep that plot going with the sequel or what. So I don't know. I've seen the Rocketeer on there. It's in my watch list to rewatch again. It's been a long time. It's not one that I've really connected with over the years and gone back and rewatched. But I'm curious about it.
Sounds interesting.
And then Disney Plus is also, they got their star for their Turner and Hooch TV series. Now they've ordered 12 episodes. It's going to be an hour long. And the synopsis on that is pretty close to what the movie was. When an ambitious, buttoned-up U.S. Marshal, Scott Turner, inherits a big, unruly dog, he soon realizes the pet he didn't want may be the partner he needs. So Disney likes their animals. So I think this is going to work as a series. And
it probably will. It's not my cup of tea, but I know it's for some people.
I remember renting Turner and Hooch a lot back in the early 90s. My mom loved the movie. So, I think this is a good fit for Disney Plus. This was big news. It was just released yesterday, or at least fodder for Twitter. Stranger Things, they teased or gave us a little teaser revealing that Hopper is indeed still alive and imprisoned in Russia. I wasn't sure about it. We all kind of thought that he was still alive. And did you watch season 3, Mick?
Nope.
Have you been in the Stranger Things?
Spoiling it. Nope. Thanks for spoiling it for me. You know I'm
Well,
years behind.
I
We
I
can't
didn't
talk
know.
about anything from the last 13 years or 20.
What?
What year? I'm up to 97 now. Yeah, we can't talk about anything from the last 23 years.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to need to find someone else to do this recurrent events with then, man. But no, I thought it was interesting. Just we got everybody to do a roundtable podcast and on season 3, and they had that big cliffhanger there. And I don't know if they should have gone this far as a teaser goes. I guess people would have found out that, hey, David Harbour's working on the season 4. So the assumption would be that he's back anyway, but they just went ahead and said, screw it. Let's just show everybody he's back. And I don't know. I was excited. I'm glad that he's probably my favorite character on the show. So, yeah, I guess, like you said, hopefully they'll release that about the time these new He-Man series come out, and I can just knock them all out in 1 month. I did read this past week, like how many people that have subscribed to Disney Plus have dropped Netflix. I mean, it was like in the, I want to say like 40% range.
Yeah, but at the same time, 2 weeks ago when Netflix released their quarterly stuff to Wall Street, they gained subscribers over the last quarter.
Really?
Yep, their numbers went up since Disney Plus launched.
That's weird. I don't know about that. Somebody's numbers is off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'm one of the ones who dropped Netflix, so.
Yeah, I did too. Just based on, we already had Hulu, so it made sense just to bundle everything together and go without Netflix for a while. So I don't know, but that's the thing with these streaming wars too. You can always go back and resubscribe for a month here and there. It's not like you have to commit for a year or something, you know.
Yeah, but you want to stay gone long enough that they give you some kind of good offer, like 3 months for 99 cents or something.
Right.
Just keep dropping and picking up and dropping and picking up.
Yeah. All right, moving along. We teased at the top of the show here. Fox has ordered a TV pilot about the Goonies, but it's a reenactment. So the plot is a woman who returns to her dilapidated hometown to become a substitute teacher after failing to make it in New York. She's feeling hopeless, but she finds new focus as she agrees to help 3 students pursue their filmmaking desires by creating an ambitious shot-for-shot remake of The Goonies. So it is a Goonies show, but not a Goonies show. I don't understand. I don't know. Why would you do this?
There's 2 thoughts that come to my mind. Instead of this, you could either take the original Goonies premise and spread it out over a series, and it would work really well. Or if you wanted to do a continuation of it, I'm sure Sean Astin is available. He'd be living back in the Goondocks and find yet another treasure map, or helps a group of kids that reminds him of himself go on their treasure hunt or something, you know.
Right.
Part of why the Goonies worked so well was the tension that was built by them being chased by the Fratellis. This premise here takes out all the tension and danger, other than maybe, oh, don't slip on that cliff while you're filming this scene, you know.
Right. It's more name dropping than anything. You know, they're just at a pilot right now, so it's not like they might not even show the thing, but I don't know. We all who would love to see an extension of Goonies in a way that's either bringing back those characters that are still around and it's their kids, or, you know, like you said, like a modern telling and them helping their kids or some other kids along that journey that they, and reminiscing at the same time, or just rebooting it and doing something in the modern day. I mean, gosh. How much more would people be interested in other than just trying to get invested in some characters that are fans of the Goonies, you know, basically. So it did not make sense to me either. All right. So we'll just, we'll see what happens with that. We'd been talking, I think a couple weeks ago about A League of Their Own. I had not realized that there is a television series at Amazon.
I didn't either, but I'm excited for it after reading what you put in the notes here.
Yeah. So the cast is set for the pilot. It's going to be an hour-long show. It's basically a fresh approach to Penny Marshall's film back in 1992. Show begins with the formation of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League in 1943 and follows our heroes as they fight to keep the league alive through close games, injuries, sexual awakenings, and road trips across a rapidly changing United States.
Yeah, I love the movie, and I love stuff set from that period. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this show.
And that's, I think, a great way to do it as they are, on the road or something and traveling from city to city, and you can do a lot there in a show. But so we're at the point now where they've got a pilot they're going to film and probably show on Amazon and see what the reaction is to make more. And then finally, here's another one we just talked about out of the blue, last week when talking about our crushes, and I was talking about Elizabeth Shue on CSI. Well, apparently they're considering doing a event series for CSI, the original show, since we are in the 20th anniversary of the original series. They're reaching out to original cast members. So far, no deals have been done yet, but Deadline was reporting that William Peterson and fellow star Georgia Fox have been approached. So I'm curious about this, man. When CSI came out, and it's been, I don't know, every show seems to be a CSI type show now on CBS. You've got the team, and it's basically that same setup for an hour-long episode. But really enjoyed the original show and cast, and I would love to see just a mini series of them coming back somehow to get involved in a case or whatever, somebody going after them years later that had been imprisoned or whatever. I'm very curious about this, and I hope it does come through. Were you a big CSI fan when it first hit?
Yeah, the wife and I watched it back when it first came out, but then we quickly, well, I ain't gonna say quickly, but we fell off. I fell off before Grissom left. She kind of fell off when Grissom left.
Yeah, that's when we were out too. Okay, got a few more headlines to touch here, and we'll get on to our main topic. We mentioned Indiana Jones 5 last week, and just wanted to pass along that Harrison Ford was quoted that they will begin shooting in April. And he was also quoted as saying, "We will see part of Indiana Jones's history revealed and see new developments in his life and his relationship." So that leads me to believe that Marion is coming back as well.
Oh, God.
What, you didn't like Marion?
No.
Oh, man. I was digging a little bit deeper. I think they're not going to be bringing back Shia LaBeouf and continuing anything from part 4, the Crystal Skull. George Lucas is not involved. Really, the only one coming back is Steven Spielberg, who I think is in post-production now on a movie. It might be the West Side Story, I was thinking, that I read. But so Spielberg is back, and of course Harrison Ford. So beyond that, we don't know anything at this point other than they're going to begin shooting in April. Let's talk a little bit about some toys and comics here. I was excited to see, speaking of the Batman animated series, we're going to get a new comic series that is kind of a continuation of the animated series coming up here in April. 6 issues, and will feature a number of characters from the greater DC animated universe, as well as Jason Todd as Robin, which I don't think that was... It's probably going to be years later, because I think it was still Dick Grayson in the animated series when he did show up. So I don't know. I like that era. I love the show. I didn't watch it in its initial run, and it wasn't until, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, I think it came to Amazon, and I just binged the whole series and just loved it. Did you connect with that at all back in the day? A little bit.
I wasn't a huge fan of it, though. Like I said, back then and even today, the 1966 Batman, that's my Batman. So
yeah.
And the actual Batman comics from the 90s, I still love, but the animated series, when it came out, was a departure from what the tone was in the comic books. So I just wasn't a huge fan of the animated series.
Well, I loved it, and I love that they continued the Danny Elfman theme from 1989 into the series, and I thought it was really great. So I'm excited about these books coming out. And then when what we teased at the top of the show too, G.I. Joe, it's just kind of underground, this this story right now, looking at some of these G.I. Joe sites and such. But apparently there is a new action figure series coming called G.I. Joe Classified. These new figures will be 6 inches, though. They're going up in size. And the first wave is rumored to be Snake Eyes, Duke, Destro, Scarlet, and Roadblock. And Toy Fair is coming up on February 22nd, and I think a lot of people are anticipating that there will be a reveal there with the new series. But I don't know. What's your thoughts going to that 6-inch size for G.I. Joe?
I don't like it. I don't like it. 3 3/4 inch. That's G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Like we even messaged back and forth a little bit. If they are based on the real American hero characters, then these will be like an instant purchase for me. But I don't know if they will be. I'm going to wait to see some pictures to see how they're going to portray them. Are they going to be, based on the new Snake Eyes movie coming out? I don't think anybody knows that yet. But I don't know. It's something different, and it might be a little bit weird to see them in that larger size since we grew up with that 3 3/4. But I'm curious at this point. I want to see what they look like, and accessories and everything else, what they're going to do. The rumored price I believe I saw was $20.
Yeah,
a
see,
piece.
that's part of it too. The bigger the figure, the bigger the price. $20, I'm out already.
Yeah,
it's not. They could be an exact replica of the real American hero. I'm out at that price. Toys should be accessible for people. I mean, it's great for us to be a collector, but toys are made for kids to play with, and that's not accessible for most kids at $20 an action figure. And
That's
if
true.
it's not accessible, then it don't have much of a future. You know what I mean? It can't grow, and so.
Well, I don't. Me personally, I'm thinking these are more geared towards us anyway, adult collectors. If they were more geared towards trying to pick up the kids nowadays, they'd be releasing it around the Snake Eyes movie in October.
They'd be releasing a new mobile game if that was.
Well, they already have, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to think of kids wanting to get G.I. Joe nowadays, since they really haven't had much to connect with. A couple movies that have been okay, and I don't know. We'll see what they look like.
That just feeds right into my point. The smaller the figure, the smaller the price, the more can buy it, the more popular it is. Hey, these kids love this stuff. We need to make a cartoon about it. Oh, the cartoon's great. Let's make a movie. And that's how you build a line, folks. You get a lot of people interested in it. It's hard to get them interested in it when it costs that much, though.
That's right. All right, a couple more things here. We talked about the Goonies getting a monopoly last week. Godzilla is getting its own monopoly, and Jenga launching this spring. And another fun little toy I found this week in the Funko world, Target is releasing a new Noid Funko Pop and t-shirt set. And it comes actually in a pizza box. I saw our pal Jeff actually went out and bought one this week, and he took a picture, tweeted it over there to us, and the presentation of that, I think, sells it for me. It's in the Domino's box. He's got that huge image of the Noid on the box as well, and then you get the T-shirt and the Funko Pop in there.
The theme Monopoly thing. I don't know why people go crazy over that stuff. I won't play a theme Monopoly. Call me an old fuddy-duddy. It's got to be Monopoly, or I don't touch it. A lot
of people won't play the original Monopoly either. You know what I mean? It's just so time consuming. And yeah, I understand that. I've got a Star Wars themed Monopoly that I've probably broken out maybe 2 or 3 times. And I've had it for 15 years.
Yeah, my wife bought me a Star Wars Monopoly based on the original trilogy. She got it for me for Christmas one year. I'm like, thanks, I guess. I couldn't tell you whatever happened to it either. I just like,
And then finally, did you play that? Try that Tetris out on Roku this past week? Did you get a chance to do that?
No, I hadn't had a chance to yet.
Well, if you haven't, check out the new channel Mind Seeker, which is a play on Minesweeper from back in the day. So you can you place your Tetris on your Roku, and then you can play a game of Minesweeper. I found that was a new channel this week on Roku. So lots of old school gaming right from your Roku. Cheap plug there, Roku.
We love you, baby.
Please approve our affiliate application. Okay, that's going to do it for recurrent events. Coming up this week on the calendar, already available now, is Clone Wars Season 7. That has premiered on Disney+. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks, that's out today on 4K and Blu-ray. And Ozzy's new album drops this Friday. You can find all those and more in the recurrent events calendar right there on the retronetwork.com homepage. And of course, more stories you can find each Sunday in the recurrent events column, including Castlevania Season 3 trailer. I have not checked out that show on Netflix, Mick. Have you seen any of the Castlevania, the new animated series?
Mm-mm.
It looks interesting. It's really dark, and I think it's even like rated mature. So, didn't get a chance to check that out before I cut Netflix. But the Season 3 trailer is out. There's also some comments from Scott Bakula on trying to reboot Quantum Leap. So you can check that out in the recurrent events column right now. Coming up, discontinued food items. Those fast food gems that we would love to have back. Some that, you can just keep it. Don't bring it back. We've got a lot of those, lots of listener feedback. So be ready to hear our menus coming up here in the Time Machine. So stay right there. Hey everybody, it is Jason. If you haven't heard our new Grocery Stories podcast series on Patreon, here's what you're missing.
I'm going to tell my favorite grocery store story ever to start this whole thing off.
Damaged food was like a first dibs, and sometimes stuff would get quote unquote damaged when it came in. The frozen food guy was notorious for this.
He would about once a month go through where everybody put their food they'd bring and put in the cooler, and he'd go through the old stuff and get rid of it, because you may bring something to work, something hits your taste bud, and you end up going to McDonald's and you forget that you brought lunch, and it just sits there. So he'd have to throw it away. So he was cleaning the cooler out one day. He was telling me about it. I was checking with him. What are you into this evening? So I'm cleaning out all these old lunches and stuff. And I knew that when he would find like a bag of chips or something left in somebody's lunch, hell, he'd eat them, because there's nothing wrong with them. They're wrapped up.
There's a couple new things. Which one do you want to try? I'm like, you don't have to. He's like, no. And he'd throw the box on the ground, stomp on a corner, and say, sorry, it's damaged, man. It's damaged. So all they need back is the box. So what do you want to try, man?
The day Daniel ate Kestner's lunch is a old favorite story of everybody's who used to work there.
That is a snippet from our first Grocery Stories mini episode on Patreon. You can head over there now, patreon.com/The Retro Network, and listen to that first full episode for free. If you will support us starting at the $2 level, you'll get to hear future episodes and also our outtakes and stories episodes. So do that this week. We would certainly appreciate your support. All right, welcome back to the TRN Time Machine on the Retro Network podcast, sponsored by Retro Days. I did end up watching that GoBots Valentine episode this week. Did you get a chance, Mick?
I still hadn't had a chance to watch it.
Oh gosh, it was great. He he played it up like he got a Valentine from someone, like a present, and all this GoBot stuff inside. He keeps pulling it out of the box, and there's a little couple elbow jabs to GoBots as far as, from Transformers, but it was a fun episode, and I won't spoil the end, but his Valentine should have made our Mount Crushmore last week. It was a really fun episode. Y'all need to check that out this week if you haven't. And just check out the channel in general, like we say each week. They do a great job over there at Retro Days. And it's well deserved to follow them over there on YouTube. But getting into discontinued fast food. I don't even know where to start this week, man. I mean, usually we have a little icebreaker. I guess one question to you, Mick, would be, how much of this stuff is stuff that you want to come back versus stuff that you remember that just needs to stay in the past?
No, everything on my list, I want to come back. I want to have access to now. And I could do a top 40 list. So.
Mick's top 40. Yeah, see, like I was saying at the top of the show, there's a few things I'm passionate about, but most of the stuff was more of a mind jolt than anything. And I was really indifferent to whether it would come back or not. So you are definitely going to take the lead on this.
You're like a creature of habit at a fast food place, right?
Yeah, I am.
Well, that's why your list is not as big, because a lot of this stuff you probably never tried when it was there, so you don't even know how good it was in the first place.
Well, I will say, of the 5 that we're going to list off here in the show, there's only one that I have not tried that I'm just curious about. The other ones I remember and love and would want those to come back. But as far as creating a top 10, really, I don't think there was enough there for me to do that. Yeah. Wow. So again, most of the stuff that I eat now has always been available. So I guess that's, part of the, I like that you're more passionate about this, and obviously the listeners are, because we've got a long list of feedback this week, and
it's probably the most ever.
I was going to say, it is more than we had last week, definitely. So we'll create a whole menu from them as well. But how do you want to do this? You want to go from like number 1 to number 5, or you just want to throw some stuff out there?
We just throw stuff out there.
Okay.
I'll let you go first this time.
Okay, yeah, I'll go first. Save you the big finale. First one on my list that I don't remember ever trying, but I would love to try right now, and that would be McDonald's onion nugget.
Ooh.
From what I could tell, this was an early 80s, maybe even late 70s offering.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it just looked like basically like a nugget onion ring.
Mm-hmm.
Probably chopped up or whatever and deep fried. Oh, I love onion rings. Every time I go to Burger King over the years, I've always preferred to get the onion rings over the French fries. So I'm a big onion ring fan, and I would have loved to try those back in the day.
Well, McDonald's typically does some of their stuff a little differently than everybody else, like their hash brown patty versus everybody's crowns. This was probably their attempt at doing something different than just onion rings. But yeah, I've seen those. I never remember having them, which I wouldn't have tried them when they were out, even if I had seen them, because, kids and onions. But in the stuff I see and look at today, they do look very intriguing to me as well.
It's funny, like even my kids, they'll eat a whole bag of Funyuns, but you put an onion ring in front of them, they're like, what? No, I'm not eating this. So I don't know. I don't know why that is, that you can put it in like a snack, but you give them the actual thing and they're like, ugh. But yeah, man, onion rings. I love onion rings, and I would definitely want to try those onion nuggets at McDonald's.
Well, if you're an onion ring man, if you're ever up this way where I'm at, there's a little restaurant here called the Dip Dog Stand. They have the best onion rings on the planet.
Really?
So, oh yeah. Yeah.
There's have you ever been to Atlanta and been to the Varsity?
Oh yes. Many times.
The Varsity, I love their onion rings. They're like the sweet Vidalia onion rings, dripping in grease.
Uh-huh.
That place, we used to get them once a year at my old job when I was in Atlanta. They would cater the Varsity at our back door, and it was all you can eat. And let me tell you,
don't tell me that now.
We ate our fill and were worthless for the rest of the day.
Yeah, the Varsity is one of those iconic places there around Atlanta. People who don't get to travel much. If you're ever through Atlanta, stop at the Varsity, and when you first see it, you'll be like, really? This is what they wanted me to eat? But trust us.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
and they still have that kind of environment like an old diner, which is really great.
Yeah.
Several locations, but cheap plug. What's one for you?
Well, you take those varsity onion rings to the 10th power, and you've got the Dip Dog stand onion rings.
Okay.
All right.
Touche.
First one I'm going to throw out are from 1987, sticking with McDonald's. They're Shanghai Chicken McNuggets. Do you remember the Shanghai McNuggets?
No, do not remember.
McDonald's attempt, I guess, at going international.
Uh-huh.
But it was a 20-pack of chicken McNuggets that you got a set of chopsticks to try to eat them with. And it came with a set of 3 sauces that were exclusive to the pack. There was a Cantonese sweet and sour sauce. There was a cup of teriyaki sauce and a cup of hot mustard. So you got all these nuggets, and as a kid, you would try to use the chopsticks to hold and dunk the nugget. What ended up being the easiest thing to do was stab the chicken McNugget and then dunk it in the sauce.
Of course, yeah.
Eat it off the end of the stick. But that was more the gimmick than, any real substance. Although those sauces I remember being pretty good, especially the hot mustard one, which, you couldn't get them any other time. So
right. Just Googling, I see there's a lot of people that want that Szechuan sauce about the time that Disney released Mulan.
Right.
That was at McDonald's.
Oh, so you don't remember that big from 2 years ago? That Szechuan sauce was brought up on an episode of Rick and Morty and trended everywhere. And
Really?
McDonald's actually reproduced the sauce and sold it in limited quantities based on that episode.
Wow.
Yeah, that Szechuan sauce was big time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't remember that at all. But I don't know what it is about chopsticks. You give a kid a pair of chopsticks, man, they want to try to use it, and I still do that, when we go to get Chinese.
But when it comes to chicken McNuggets, why would you give somebody chopsticks to eat chicken McNuggets?
I don't know.
Keeping with the Oriental theme, I guess.
That's right. Well, sticking with McDonald's, one that made my list is that hot mustard sauce.
Really?
Like,
good deal.
We didn't. I think it's discontinued by now. I'm not sure when it was discontinued, but in the dipping cup, there was the hot mustard sauce. I love the hot mustard sauce, and I don't know when they did away with that, but I remember specifically asking for that as a kid when I got my nuggets. I wanted the hot mustard. That was like my favorite. And then more recently, I don't know, within the last maybe 10 years, they had a sweet chili dipping sauce.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
That was out of this world, man. It's still my favorite that they've ever produced. I would love to have those two come back. I just want the hot mustard back. I think they went to packets at one point versus the dipping cup. I'd take those, but can't find it anymore, So they've had a lot of sauces over the years. I know they've tried. I think there was like a mesquite barbecue at one point, and every once in a while they'll try to do something with a tie-in, and I'm all about trying stuff like that, but I need that hot mustard back. That was a staple for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the hot mustard. Well, I will finally get us away from McDonald's. We'll go back later on, folks. Don't worry. We're going to Hardee's this time. So you remember back in, what would it have been, 87, 88, they released the Frisco Burger. And I don't know if they anticipated it being the hit that it was, but it was a major, major hit for Hardee's, which it's still on their menu today. But based on the success of that, the early marketing for that was based on the sourdough bread, like from San Francisco. Well, they went to the other coast, to New York, to focus their next burger. And it was the New York patty melt. And it was grilled rye bread in the round shape like the sourdough bread from the Frisco Burger. And it had the burger patty, and it had the melted Swiss, and it had the sauteed onions on it, on that grilled rye. Now, it wasn't the hit that the Frisco Burger was. Matter of fact, it only stuck around somewhere like maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit more. But I had discovered the Frisco Burger pretty quick, knew that my dad would like it, convinced him to try it, and it became his favorite burger anywhere. So then when they released the patty melt, I'm like, well, yeah, that's my next one. And I tried it, and I loved it. And I ate it instead of the Frisco Burger whenever we were around Hardee's until it was gone.
Yeah, we didn't have Hardee's up north, at least where I was. And is the Frisco burger about the same as it was back in the day? Do you know?
It is the same as it was back in the day. I think the patty has actually gotten a little thicker. Other than that, it's
as chance would have it, I don't go to Hardee's a lot around here, and actually several stores have closed locally here in Montgomery. I went to a Hardee's just last week, and what did I choose? The Frisco burger.
Good on you, buddy.
It's a great burger, and I just love I don't think it's just mayo. It seems like it's more. There's like another type of sauce, maybe with mayo that they put on there with the bacon and that sourdough bread. Oh gosh, I love it.
Yeah, and it is great.
And even just last night, we went to a local deli here, and my favorite thing to get there is the New York pastrami, which is on rye bread, and they also put sauerkraut on it, and with that pastrami meat. So I can see how I would be trying that New York melt too, man, with that rye bread, even if it didn't have the pastrami on it. That sounds really good, but I don't remember back in the day. Like I said, we didn't have access to Hardee's, at least locally, so didn't get there much.
Yeah, it was. Gosh, my mouth is actually watering sitting here right now from no more than we've already talked about.
Okay, I'm gonna actually the next pick. I'm gonna kind of do like a tie. I'm gonna do the Pizza Hut Pizzone and the McStuffins from McDonald's, the pepperoni one. Now,
the hell's a McStuffin?
You don't remember the McStuffins?
No.
It's like a stromboli or a calzone type deal where it was wrapped up. Had I think you could get pepperoni or the other choice. There's like two of them. It was back in the 90s.
Was that when they had the pizza menu?
I think so.
Okay,
because
I have no memory of that.
But when
I'm seeing pictures of them now, and the pictures, well, at least the pictures that are online, are not very flattering. But
yeah, I mean, you look at it now, it's probably not too appealing. But back then, like in the early 90s, so it's high school era. When did the Pizzone come out? That was maybe a little bit later on. But one of the staples that we always got at one of the local pizzerias was a stromboli or a calzone. They're close, I guess, but it's just the wrapped bread, and you've got your meat and cheese and sauce inside. And I just loved that. So when the restaurants start offering that, like Pizza Hut and then even McDonald's for a while, that's what I was ordering, because that was just, I don't know, it didn't match the local chain and the quality that they had there, but it was still gimmicky enough that, oh, I can get my stromboli fix or calzone fix at Pizza Hut or at McDonald's. So that was
blasphemy when it comes to a good stromboli or calzone to say you can get your fix at McDonald's.
Well, I mean, pseudo fix. Like I said, it wasn't exactly your local mom and pop chain that we went to, and like I said, the quality you get there, but it was a gimmick. So yeah, I buy into the gimmick sometimes.
Yeah, we all do. That's what convinces us to buy the stuff in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So, well,
right.
You did a tie. I don't know if I should do a tie or not. I'm going to do a tie as well.
Okay.
Because I got one that just barely missed out. They're both from McDonald's. The first one is the McDonald's Superhero Burger from 1995. Now, surely tell me you know what I'm talking about. Because it was the burger they built to tie in to Batman
Forever? Yes.
Yeah. It was on the long hoagie bun, 3 patties on it, 3 slices of cheese, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise on that big old bun. Good gosh, that thing was good. And that was actually part of the whole year of 95, they done a burger of the month. And that was their burger of the month for that month. But every month they had a new item, which was pretty cool. I could probably make my whole list just off of that burger of the month menu.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to mention that. But my real pick that I had in there, and you're not going to have knowledge of this, but McPasta, when they done back in 1989 and 1990, which it turns out it was a test market thing they done to sell pasta at McDonald's.
Right.
There was an area in New York that was a test market, and then the local franchise here in Northeast Tennessee which included one store in Virginia that we ate at all the time. They were a test market for it. So I got to try it. And I've wrote about this before.
Mm-hmm.
It used to blow my mind. I would talk about McDonald's fettuccine Alfredo and people just thought I was crazy. And I didn't realize, until the internet years when I could research it, that it wasn't nationwide. It was a test market. That's why nobody else remembered it. But they had this idea to put out, you could get spaghetti, you could get fettuccine Alfredo, I can't remember if they had lasagna or not, or you could get chicken legs. Why chicken legs? I have no idea. But they also had breadsticks that, if you've ever eaten at Fazoli's, that's what they remind you of, is the Fazoli breadsticks.
That's why you eat at Fazoli's, is for the breadsticks. At least that's the way we do, yeah. Well,
I mean, we like going there when we want a fine Italian meal, so it's not just the breadsticks.
A fine Italian meal.
Hey, it's not fast food. It's good food fast. Okay. But anywho, my dad traveled all the time, so me and my mom would fend for ourselves for dinner, and we discovered that fettuccine. She loved it. I loved it. It was like twice a week we were going to get a plate of fettuccine and a breadstick and taking back home. And it was limited time, unfortunately. One time we went to order it and it was no longer there, and may have uttered some of the first curse words in front of my mother at that point in time, directed at the person at the cash register, and the look of shock of those words coming out of a 10, 12-year-old's mouth. But yeah, the McDonald's fettuccine Alfredo, that is, I mean, I got to have it, so it's not really my holy grail, but I compare that to my holy grail of the what ifs. If that had a launch nationwide, it's hard to tell. It may still be on their menu.
So let me ask you, is it more the nostalgia of being able to do that and being one of the like an exclusive there, or was it really that good? Well,
looking back with today's eyes, it's hard to tell. I remember it was good enough that, like I said, we were going twice a week to get it for the 6 or 8 weeks it was out. So we had it a lot. It must have been really good then to go that many times. But from today's eyes, maybe I miss it so much because of the nostalgia of it. A memory shared with my mom and I, and that whole ritual of going and doing it. But It had to be good back then, or we wouldn't have went twice a week to get it. So.
Okay. That's a great choice. Yeah. I've seen pictures, but that's all as far as the McPasta goes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, reading about it from you. All right. We've got 2 left to pick here, don't we? Where am I going to go? Okay. So back in the early 90s, well, probably like mid 90s, 94, 95, my buddy Wyatt and I, we would cruise the town of Clearfield, Pennsylvania. And when we got hungry, we would pop into our local Kentucky Fried Chicken. And Kentucky Fried Chicken at that time was offering popcorn chicken, which is not the same as what they offer today. So let me just get that out of the way. So back in the day, you would get these, it was almost like chicken bits. I mean, it was smaller pieces of chicken, and they would bring it to you in those rectangular boxes that they, your whole meal comes in now. It was filled with popcorn chicken. And they had a hot sauce that they would give you too, which I guess they have a hot sauce there now, and we would just get those packs of popcorn chicken and just dump hot sauce all over. And that was our meal, man. I mean, we might have got a biscuit with, I don't even remember if they gave us biscuits with the meal, but that popcorn chicken was so good.
And for people that don't realize the size you're talking about, I'm pretty sure I remember those early days of it. It's the size that you can kind of toss up in the air and catch in your mouth.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we did that. Yeah.
And because that was in the commercials.
Right. Yeah.
But today's popcorn chicken, it would bounce off the sides of your mouth or your lips and hit the floor because it's bigger pieces.
Right.
And you don't know the difference.
And you'd probably choke on it trying to, catch it in your mouth. But yeah, it was like really small pieces. I've just never seen that offered anywhere. And, deep fried, and you get that crisp, that Kentucky Fried Chicken flavor, the original recipe with it. and it went perfect with the hot sauce that they offered. And that's all we ate, man. I can just remember anytime we were out and needed something to eat, we were trying to make it to a Kentucky Fried Chicken and get that popcorn chicken. It was just so good to us.
I remember that too, because that was in my early days of having my driver's license. And I remember the containers you're talking about and the size of the chicken. And I remember the marketing. Like I said, the commercials were big on showing people popping them up in the air and popping them in your mouth and popcorn chicken. And oh yeah, that was a big time back then.
Okay. So just think about this for a minute. That pizza that they're testing in the UK, use that popcorn style chicken on that. Okay. And I'm all over that pizza. Let me tell you.
And flood it with it.
Absolutely.
Flood it with the pictures show a big piece here and there.
Yeah.
Flood this pizza with those things.
Absolutely, man. It would be a perfect pizza topping. Let me tell you.
Hey, I'll go one step farther. What about a popcorn chicken stuffed crust pizza where you got popcorn chicken in the crust?
Hey, man, anywhere you're going to bring that popcorn chicken from the 90s back, I'm there. Let me tell you.
Good pick.
We just got that so much, and it was almost, I think, to the point where we would walk in, all right, popcorn chicken, and which one gets the Mountain Dew and which one gets the Dr. Pepper, you know. We were just there so much. So yeah, man, bring it back.
Well, I can't wait to hear what your first pick is then, if that made number 2, because I'm pretty passionate about that.
I'm more passionate about my number 1. So yeah.
Well, we'll stick with KFC.
Okay.
And I've seen this in the comments. The Chicken Little sandwiches of the 80s, not the ones today, but from the late 80s.
Okay.
The difference being today, I'll start with today's version. It's on this little miniature sub roll, and it's a piece of their chicken tender or whatever with pickles and mayonnaise. Well, back in the 80s, it was a square bun, like the dinner rolls you buy at the grocery store.
Yep. And
it was flat, square chicken patty on it, and it had mayonnaise and a pickle on it. And you used to get those things for 33 cents each, like 3 for $1.
Yeah.
And the taste of those things was heavenly. They were heaven. There's commercials all over YouTube for people to go check out. But I can remember loving those things, and Mom really liked KFC, and I liked KFC, but I wasn't huge on coleslaw and the normal sides and stuff. But it was, you know how you've got kids, you're driving down Hamburger Row in your town, wherever you live, and all the fast food places are like, can we stop and get a Frosty? Can we get this? Can we get that? You're like, no, we're going on. The Chicken Littles, the way they were priced, I could bring those up, and Mom never had a problem stopping. Okay. And she'd get me 3 of them for $1.
Yep.
And I can remember, like, that was just as a snack. I can remember when we'd go to eat a meal, I could eat a sack full of those things. They were so freaking good. And maybe people might be more familiar these days with White Castle and their, whatever they call their chicken sandwich. It was kind of similar to that, but tasted 100 times better than White Castle's does. But, oh, KFC Chicken Littles of the 80s. The Chicken Littles, Your Chicken Littles. That's from the commercial from way back then.
Yeah, I remember them, and I do know what you're saying as far as it was just a different tasting chicken sandwich than everything else. And yeah, White Castle, Crystal, whatever you're at, and you're trying to get a chicken sandwich from there, no, it's not the same, not close. I do remember getting those. Those were really good.
Like, and they were so cheap.
Yeah, I mean, gosh. 3 for $1. You go to Arby's now and get their sliders and like $1.50 a piece. I'm like, really? I mean, come on, man. Oh, all right. My top pick for discontinued fast food items. It's almost a discontinued restaurant. There's only, I was looking online. I think there's only maybe 20 left in the entire country.
Oh, you've piqued my interest now then.
My favorite discontinued fast food item came from Tasty Freeze.
Oh.
We had a Tasty Freeze in my little one stoplight town where I grew up. It was the only like chain restaurant we had there. And so I was there all the time. And we would even ride our bikes downtown to go to a little general store. Sometimes I remember stopping at Tasty Freeze, mainly for ice cream. But my favorite thing to get there was the pizza burger. And the pizza burger there, I don't know if it was beef or more sausage, but it definitely, the patty had a spice to it, right? And then just the sauce and the mozzarella cheese. That's all it was. I mean, it was real simple, but it had that really nice, flavor to it, the kind of spice to it, that it's just not it wasn't a regular beef patty that you put pizza sauce on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I would get anytime we'd go there. I wanted a pizza burger, and Dad loved them too. And there was another little hole-in-the-wall restaurant that we would go to sometimes between towns when we were traveling. We'd stop at. It was more or less a stand than a restaurant, and they had pretty good pizza burgers, but it still didn't compare to Tasty Freeze. And I was looking online just to see if they still offered it. They don't offer it anymore, even at the 20 whatever locations that they have open now. So,
well, we had a Tasty Freeze. Never remember them having a pizza burger, even
Really?
back in the 90s. Really? No, I wonder if that may have been a local franchise thing, because our local Tasty Freeze had stuff that none others did. It was created in the store and it was on their menu, but not like a franchise-wide thing.
It could have been. I was just looking for. I wanted to try to verify what the actual recipe was, if it was a different style burger or if it was like a sausage patty or something. And there is a company, I think out of Wisconsin, that franchises out their pizza burgers. And one of the locations is actually not too far from where I grew up that they still do. It's called, I think, Genuine was the name of the pizza burger. Some people might recognize that are pizza burger connoisseurs. But, oh gosh, it was so good. And like I said, a lot of this has to deal with the nostalgia of it, but also it tasted great. And I don't know. I love Tasty Freeze too. They had it was just a traditional American restaurant, hot dogs and burgers and shakes.
Fries, yep.
And the fries were great too. They were the, McDonald's shoestring style. So,
well,
yeah.
See, we had the big fat crinkle cut at our Tasty Freeze.
Really?
Yeah, I think Tasty Freeze as a name was franchised, but the restaurants themselves had whatever.
Interesting.
I think there were so many differences between them. You bought your own from your own distributors and stuff. You sold your own stuff, but that's probably why there's so many variations in the menus across all the Tasty Freezes. It's pretty much just a name that is shared among, places.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely my top pick.
Well, one thing to know to think about: did your Tasty Freeze sell the Big T burger?
Yes.
Okay, so now that was something that traveled across all the menus because that was their version of the Big Mac.
Right. Yeah, and that was kind of their brand, the Big T. That I remember. Yeah. I remember that being a big deal. Yeah.
Did yours have the Big Country burger?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head. What was the Big Country?
It was their version of a Whopper. Just a big old burger with lettuce, tomato, and cheese and stuff on it.
I remember the Big T name more than anything. But I don't remember the Big Country.
Well, here in later years, they changed it at this restaurant from Big T to the Warrior Burger because it's the local high school team name, the Warriors.
Gotcha.
But something that almost made my list was Burger King's pizza burgers from 1986, 87.
Really? Don't remember the Burger King having them.
Well, it was one of their limited time things, and it was their international menu. They had you could get the pizza burger, which was basically their little cheeseburger, but it had sauce and the mozzarella cheese on it.
Mm-hmm.
They had a chicken sandwich in there that represented France, where it had sliced ham and Swiss cheese on it to make like a chicken cordon bleu sandwich.
Oh, okay.
And there was a third one, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but they would run them for a limited time every so often, and we'd get the pizza burgers whenever they had them. So that almost made my list.
Okay.
People's never had a pizza burger. You can make them at home. They'll just fry you up a hamburger patty and throw the sauce and cheese to it on a toasted bun. You're good to go. But
I did see too that Genuine place. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes or something. That they sell like pizza burger seasoning too, and they have like a little store and stuff, T-shirts and whatever. You can send a gift pack, but that's something I'm probably gonna try to see if that is maybe just what I need to, get back to what I remember as a pizza burger.
Yeah, and mixing some sausage in. I don't want to keep going down this bunny hole, but the
I love it, man.
the quick cafe that delivers food to where we work and the vending things,
Uh-huh.
they have a sausage cheeseburger that's a half and half mix of hamburger and ground pork. And beyond that, it's just a hamburger, but they call it a sausage cheeseburger. It's got cheese on it on the bun and stuff. They're really good.
Yeah.
There is a distinct taste that the ground pork mixed in with the ground beef produces in a hamburger. So
That's right.
it could be a combination of that and that seasoning you're seeing on their website.
Okay.
When we get done, send me the link to that website stuff. I like to check those folks out.
Okay.
Well, number one on mine was brought up several times in the feedback we got, and that is the Super Bar at Wendy's. Holy moly. Did you have Super Bar in your Wendy's? Or did you ever
Yes.
go to Wendy's back? So you know
Yes,
what
I
it
do
is.
remember it. Yes.
Well, I've talked many times about my dad traveling and coming home, and on Friday or Saturday he'd take mom to do her shopping, and we'd go out to eat. And it was until Western Steer closed, it was usually Western Steer. And then it became, which the rare occasion we get to go to Pizza Hut, which is what made it so special, which is why I've wrote about it, which is why I started writing about stuff on the internet in the first place. So, but other times it would either be Bonanza, or when it was Wendy's, it was for the Super Bar. People probably listening to us will know what the Super Bar is, but just in case, it was this weird shaped salad bar, buffet bar thing. It pretty much had three sections. You had a salad bar, and it had what they called desserts on it, which equated to vanilla pudding and chocolate pudding, and maybe some Jell-O. You had the Mexican Fiesta bar, which had hard shells, soft shells. You had taco meat, melted nacho cheese, all that type stuff you would need. And then you had the pasta bar, spaghetti noodles, rotini noodles. You had meat sauce and Alfredo sauce, and they had that grilled bread where they would take their buns and cut them into half moon shapes and butter them and season them and grill them. And oh my goodness, the bread was the best thing on the bar. But it used to be cheap too, like $2.99. And when we'd go there, one of two things would happen.
$2.99.
Yeah, back then. One of two things would happen when we'd go. One, I'd either get the Super Bar and load up on the bread, the fettuccine, and then I'd make like soft tacos galore. And just like I would run them out of shells and have to ask for more soft taco shells. Or we would order, at the time you could also order the baked potato bar, which meant you got a baked potato and you could make one, or well, they never stopped you, but you could make a trip over to the bar to top it with whatever they had on the bar that you wanted.
Uh-huh.
So my dad taught me how to spread open your potato really good so it would hold a lot, and go to the potato bar and fill it with like the chili and the cheese and stuff from the Mexican bar. Go back, eat all the topping out of it, and then go refill it and then eat it as the whole potato stuff.
That's great.
So we ate the Super Bar a lot. And like I said, when Western Steer closed, we kind of bounced back and forth between Bonanza, which is another steakhouse, and Wendy's. And Wendy's was only in that equation because of the Super Bar. Mainly because my dad wanted the potato bar. He didn't order the whole Super Bar. It was cheaper to get the potato bar, and he would just get the chili and cheese off of it for his potato. But we spent many a Friday or Saturday nights at Wendy's Super Bar when they had it.
I remember we had Bonanza where we were, and in that same town. So I think I mentioned this before too when we were talking about our favorite toys and promotions. The Wendy's was was a town over, about 25 minutes away. So we didn't get there much, but I do remember going there and seeing the Super Bar set up. I'm not sure if I ever dove into it, and I don't have that nostalgia of going there a lot to kind of take advantage of all the aspects of the Super Bar, but I do remember, and I know it's highly revered. Even Kevin, I think, who might have left a comment here years ago when I did one of the first podcasts for Rediscover the 80s, that came up, and he did a whole guest post over there on the Super Bar and everything he used to get. So
somehow I came across that post 2 days ago and read it. You know,
Wasn't that great?
It is on your site, yeah.
So I know it's highly revered, and just thinking about $2.99 all you can eat. Gosh, I mean, I know it's not like a full the full Wendy's menu, but still.
Well, that would have been in today's dollars. That equates out to about $5.40, which is still incredible.
That's nuts.
If you could go in anywhere, if it was just a salad bar, nothing else, that would be a cheap price.
Absolutely.
So imagine getting the pasta and the Mexican and the bread and all the other stuff to go with it. So yeah, you could take your kids there now and be like, kids, hellfire, pig out. I ain't cooking for the next 2 days, so you better load up.
The only equivalent to that I have really nostalgia for is a restaurant. I think it's actually several restaurants in Pennsylvania, West Virginia called Haas's Steakhouse. I have to eat at Haas's every time we go home, and they have a full setup like that. That's a salad bar, soup, and bread, and that is the equivalent probably to the Wendy's Super Bar to me. That we could go, I could just fill up on, junk, because I had nachos too, and little things like that was enough to just eat off of the salad bar. So yeah, I can understand that.
Be like my daughter wants the salad bar, and all she puts on her plate is shredded cheese and bacon bits.
Right. Well, hey, when you're a kid, you don't care.
Plate out of it,
Yeah. It's like you giving a kid a plate, and where do you go? You're going for those little nuances that you like. You're not going there to do a huge salad or anything. It's just taking advantage of what's available to you.
And we you talked about Wendy's being like 20 miles away. Well, that's how Wendy's was for me. But the problem was there was no place to eat in the town I lived. You had to go there to do your shopping and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Was there any honorable mentions you want to throw in there before we get to our listener menu?
Too many to name, so I will save those we may have another round of this at some point in the future, and I will just add my own thoughts to the comments you're about to read then.
The other ones that I had were somewhat newer, so I don't know if I want to throw them out there. I'll just throw out one. One is the Taco Bell Verde sauce. I don't know why they got rid of it, but they need to bring it back. They have it in the stores, in the bottles. But when I'm at Taco Bell, I don't have the bottle with me. So I need Verde sauce at a Taco Bell. That was like my favorite sauce. So,
man, speaking of, I love Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
But my doctor told me I had to cut out the Taco Bell drive-thru.
Okay.
Now I have to park and walk in and get it, I guess, because he told me no more Taco Bell drive-thru.
No more drive-thru. I catch what you're throwing down there. Okay, let's go on to our listener menu because there's some great ones here, and we've got a lot to get to here. Brian Cave. We'll start with you, Brian, at Old School Evil with the underscores in the middle. I loved the Colossus burger at Jack in the Box when I was a kid. So much bacon.
I never had a Jack in the Box around me. I've eaten at them when I've traveled, so I don't, if that's an old item, then I would have never had a chance at it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think that's mainly based in the West Coast and out to the Midwest, if I do remember. But anyway, next up, we've got two here, at Haunted Drive-In and at All Day 034, the McRib. And McRib, the end, is what they said. I don't know if we would call this discontinued food. It's more of a seasonal item now because they release it every year, don't they?
I replied to Haunted Drive-In. I said, well, that's not really extinct. And he came back and said it's certainly on the endangered list, which he's correct because we don't get it very often. So yeah, I give him a pass because of that reply.
When we got it, I guess it was maybe late last year. I found myself going to McDonald's, I would say at least 3 to 4 times just to get a McRib. I love them so much.
Yeah,
and
they are good.
I guess part of that is it being seasonal, that when you hear that word McRib, you're like, my mouth immediately waters and I'm like, I got to find a McDonald's. I got to work that into my schedule today.
If you miss it, you have to wait a whole nother year for it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Obvious reaction there.
It's in that, we'll put it in a gray area for this podcast. How about that?
Okay.
At Bonsai Retro Club, I don't have anything that I really missed, but I researched this to see if there was something that I forgot and came across the McLobster. Have to admit, thinking about a lobster roll, which usually I love, from McDonald's kind of turns my stomach. I don't remember this at all either.
Well, the McLobster is a seasonal item in the New England states.
Okay.
So it's like they probably get the McRib too, but it's like the McRib up there. It's usually only available for a month or so a year.
Yeah. We have Captain D's down here, and a lobster roll is kind of on their, seasonal menu as well. And I'll get that once in a while. But yeah, I've never heard of that at McDonald's, so that must be a regional thing. At Bloody Popcorn, I remember having a fondness for the Arch Deluxe burger. I was a kid, so it must have been that secret sauce for grown-ups thing.
Yeah, she and I went back and forth on that. That was a horseradish sauce. And she said that must be why she loved it. Well, that's what kept me from liking it.
Okay.
But I just, at some point, that was out in like 95, I guess, into 96. I don't know why it never dawned on me then to order it without the sauce, because it had that special bun that I liked, and it had the different seasoning blend on the burger patty, and it had tomato, which was rare for McDonald's burger. That burger was right up my alley, all but the horseradish sauce, but I never thought to order it without it.
I remember the Arch Deluxe, and I do like a horseradish sauce. One of my nuances is when I'm at Arby's, I don't like to just put the horseradish sauce on burgers, but I like to mix it with the Arby's sauce and dip my French fries in it.
I'm not a horseradish fan. And hey, before you go on, let me interject a brand new piece of feedback that just hit while we were talking.
Okay.
This is from Jeff, at Pilot Jeff here on the Retro Network. He sent us a picture of a McDonald's McLean Deluxe wrapper paper. Says he came across this on eBay this morning. I've never heard of the McLean Deluxe. Do you remember this, and what was it? I remember the McLean Deluxe. It was their attempt to go healthy by removing the fat from the hamburger.
Right.
But needing something to still hold it together, they injected it with a seaweed extract.
I do remember that.
And when that news came out, I mean, people loved the burger. People loved it. But when it came out, it had that seaweed extract in it. People quit buying it. They're like, ooh, gross, even though they love the burger.
Right, yeah.
And it was doomed to failure at that point. And I think, he'll tell me if I'm wrong, that the McLean Deluxe was a favorite of Tiny's. I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was either that or the Big and Tasty, but I'm pretty sure it was a McLean Deluxe.
Is there a difference between the McLean and the McLean Deluxe? Was there like two different things where they added some extra elements on it? Or
I only remember the McLean Deluxe, and it was, had the tomato, lettuce, that stuff on it.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Carry on.
Well, just to shout out a couple more people here that wanted the McDonald's Arch Deluxe back. Our Hancock 19 also mentioned it. And Jeff, at Pilot Jeff with an underscore in the middle there. Arch Deluxe may also add that I miss Roy Rogers as a whole. There's an express style one in a rest stop on the side of the New York State Thruway a few hours away, but it's nothing like it used to be. All the rest turned into Wendy's around here. So we never had a Roy Rogers close to us.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. Let's continue down the list here. At Brian P. Miles, Taco Bell's BLT soft taco and bacon cheeseburger burrito.
I ate so many bacon cheeseburger burritos. I physically got sick of them and couldn't eat them anymore. I was going 3 or 4 days a week for lunch to get a bacon cheeseburger burrito when they had them.
When was this?
95. I'm pretty sure 95. Maybe 96. It was in that era. But they released a whole bacon menu, and he mentions the BLT soft taco. It was the taco meat with crumbled bacon, lettuce, and cheese on the soft taco. The bacon cheeseburger burrito was a melted nacho cheese sauce with the taco meat, bacon, and lettuce and tomatoes all rolled up in a burrito. My God. And they weren't skimpy with bacon either. I mean, this was a bacon menu. They loaded everything down with bacon. Bacon was the dominant flavor on these things. Really? Yeah, they didn't shortcut it. And I ate so many of them, I got sick. I couldn't. If they brought it back today, I don't know if I could go eat one. But great for somebody to bring that up because that's definitely in my top 10. It didn't make the top 5, but it's in my top 10.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't get a Taco Bell up north where I grew up until about that time, like maybe 95, 96 era. And I remember coming home from like college and going that town that was 20 minutes over to go to Taco Bell, but I don't remember any particular things about the menu at that time. Let's stay at Taco Bell here. Stacy at Geeky_Vixen. You've heard on the podcast before. Taco Bell Mexi Melts or Mexican pizzas, the way they were in the 80s with green onions and black olives added.
I miss Mexi Melts.
Did you bring that up in a previous show?
I did.
Trying to make one essentially out of their menu now?
To make me one. Yeah. No, they tried to make me one.
Oh, okay.
Because they took it off their menu, morons. That's the part that kills me. You have everything already there to make it. Why take it off the menu? The double-decker taco. Okay, bacon cheeseburger burrito. You don't want to keep bacon in the store. I get it. You take it off the menu. These other things they recently took off, they have everything there all the time to make them. You just leave them on your menu. If somebody wants it, you sell it to them. What the hell? Mm-hmm. They won't even make it for you, even though they know how. They won't. Yep. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go in there and smack some people around one day.
All right. We'll skip down here a couple and stay with Taco Bell for a minute. Eric at Eric_Vardaman, who is a buddy of ours. The Taco Bell Enchilito and the old style fries from Wendy's. Also the Super Bar at Wendy's.
The old style fries at Wendy's. Absolutely.
He even said the Super Bar, even though it's not a food item, in the all-you-can-eat buffet at Wendy's, yes. So he agreed with you there.
Oh man, the old fries at Wendy's were the epitome of childhood. Dipping those in a Frosty.
Our friend Turtle Fan Forever at 20 years before with underscores in between. McJordan Special. Now I Googled this actually, and was this just a Chicago thing? It wasn't. Was this a nationwide offering?
Yes and no. It started out as a local Chicago thing, and it's a quarter pounder that they add bacon and barbecue sauce to. A lot of people seem to remember the McJordan Special that may not have ever actually had it. But they did have it. It was actually one of the burgers of the month in 1995 that we talked about. But they called it something different. And I think people in the retro community see what it is, remember having it, and think they had the Jordan Special. But it was probably under a different name for a lot of people. Now, I'm not sure where Turtle Fan lives. Maybe he lived around Chicago and had, the actual titled McJordan Special. I don't know. But, yeah, that's what that was.
Yeah, I think you just need to do a post on all those 95 burgers of the month.
Yeah, possibly. I've looked them up. Some are a little sketchy on if that was actually a thing or not, just based on my memories. So I do a little more research. I might put something together. Okay.
Moving along, at 2600 Game by Game says, I hope the McDonald's cheddar melt is rotting in hell.
Well, I hope you're rotting in hell.
No, what was the cheddar melt? I don't remember that specifically.
It was just like the size of their original hamburger, and it had this melty, gooey cheese on it with fried onions. It was delicious.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
They brought back another version of it about 6, 7, 8 years ago that they used a white cheddar cheese on. It wasn't a creamy sauce like the original one was, but it was really good with the onions on it and stuff. Delicious.
Okay. At Jason Vorslees says, McD's 3rd pound Angus burgers. I always got the mushroom Swiss. The quality was way better, but non-fast food, they need to bring back pizzerias as soon as possible. Yes, we can save that for another show because I remember the pizzerias.
3rd pound Angus burgers were pretty recent, actually, wasn't they?
Yeah, I was probably within the last maybe 5 years.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, like I said, I've got some that I'd love to come back within the last few years. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second. McDonald's wings. You remember when they had wings like maybe 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
Mighty
more.
Wings.
I loved them, man. I loved them. They were just the fried, chicken wings, but the spice was in it, so it wasn't like a saucy wing. And it reminds me of what actually Crystal has now. They have a wing it's got a kick to it, but there's no sauce. And I loved them, man.
You're one of the few.
I know, because they went out, but I remember when they were.
They took a bath on those things too.
I know
They lost millions of dollars on those.
Well,
things.
I can understand that because I don't know what the price point was, but they were big, and I loved the taste with that spice cooked in. So that was a little sidebar there. At John M. Ware, referring to the McDonald's McDLT, I loved that damn sandwich.
Oh yes, I've tried to explain to people who weren't around back then that it wasn't just the fact that it was a burger with lettuce and tomato on it. It was the shape of the box that kept the cold side cold and the hot side hot. Well, it was more than presentation. It actually done its damn job that when you got home, your burger patty was still hot and your lettuce on the other side wasn't wilted and warm. You put it together, it tasted fresh just like it did if you just sat down and ate it at the McDonald's. Damn environmentalist. Getting rid of the styrofoam packaging and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh. And you got George Costanza singing in the streets for it, That was that's what I remember most about the McDLT. At Queen Geekor, Burger Buddies from Burger King, and the shaker salads from McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. I remember the shaker salads pretty well, and the Burger Buddies, they actually brought those back maybe about 10 years ago for a limited time. They were good. Little sliders. Oh,
yeah.
So good.
I remember they were almost like, you almost had to pull them apart, right?
Yeah.
When they were in the little package there. So, yeah, those were good. I remember Mom getting the shaker salads and me thinking, okay, isn't this just a salad in like a milkshake cup?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, whatever. It's still a salad. But it's gimmicky, people go for the gimmicks. At Big Rick Daddy, Arch Deluxe, and I'm really surprised in all these years they haven't put it back on the menu.
I'm kind of surprised too that they haven't. Maybe that'll come at some point. They'll give it a different name though, because it's generally at the top of the list of places you see online of the biggest fast food flops. So they'd probably change the name to avoid the negative connotation behind it. But I think that burger would do well these days at McDonald's. Back then it didn't do well at McDonald's because it was still wholly a kid's place. And that was their attempt to, here's something your kids won't like, but you will when you bring your kids. And people didn't like it.
All right. RD himself, Adam at Hoju Koolander. I've been racking my brain, and all I can come up with was the original Chicken Littles from KFC, which is on your list. They still have them on the menu as far as a few years ago, but it's a very different spice recipe and mayo selection.
And a whole different cut of chicken and a different bun.
All right. At Big Five Army, KFC's chicken nuggets. They were the best. McDonald's Arch Deluxe and fried cherry pie.
Any fried pie from McDonald's.
Yeah. See, I have not gotten a pie from McDonald's in forever. And it's not because they, bake it now instead of deep frying it. I just don't think about it, really. Back then, it was like almost, can I get a pie too, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
They just don't sell it the same way, or they don't advertise the pies anymore,
Fried pies.
I wonder if he means the popcorn chicken by the KFC chicken nuggets.
He might.
I don't know. I don't remember KFC. They always had like tenders, not nuggets, to my recollection. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, I'm doing a quick Google here. Let's see. Well, popcorn nuggets.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, actually, here's a modern picture of a bucket of KFC chicken nuggets. So Beyond, oh my God, Beyond Meat chicken nuggets. Are you?
All right, we got one more piece of feedback here from the
Plant-based chicken nuggets. That'd bring a tear to a glass eye. What they're doing with this fake meat stuff.
That's great. All right, we got one more piece of feedback here from @RadYears. Has anyone mentioned the glorious, gluttonous Wendy's Super Bar? Which
we have.
Maybe we can get Chance the Rapper to bring that back also. I don't know what that's referring to. I don't know anything about Chance the Rapper.
Hey, can I give those guys a free plug?
Sure.
The Rad Years podcast. You guys can go listen to it. If you like our Time Machine segments, that's basically what their whole show is every week. They've got a big library of shows now, and they're actually maybe 3 or 4 different food shows of just food they miss through the years. And they do 10 each time. So they've named off a lot of food.
Wow.
So, yeah, go check out their archives. They're good guys. They're a fun listen every week.
Okay. Well, out of our listener menu here, what will be your top choice here?
Probably the bacon cheeseburger burrito from Taco Bell. Other than the people mentioned Super Bar and stuff that I already mentioned. Yeah. I don't know that I could actually eat it or not, but I wish it was on the menu in case I got up the courage to try again.
I'm kind of curious about the McJordan special because I don't remember having that back in the day. And as much as I love the McRib, basically doing a McRib on a quarter pounder sounds really good to me.
You want a McJordan special, my friend?
Yeah.
You can order the quarter pounders with bacon now. They have a bacon quarter pounder. Get that and get a pack of their barbecue sauce and throw on it. I mean, it's a fine combination.
Okay. I'm going to do that.
Let me go one step farther, too. You also like onion rings. When you're at Burger King, their rodeo cheeseburgers.
Oh, I love the rodeo cheese. Yeah.
Oh, man.
With the onion ring and the barbecue sauce. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do that at home. Like when we'll cook out on the grill, sometimes I'll do the just the fried onion straws or the fried onion that you get, from the store. Dump those on top with barbecue sauce and cheese, and boom.
Add you a slice of fried bologna on there too.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody and all your feedback this week. This was great, and hope you enjoyed the discontinued fast food talk this week. Coming up, we are going to wrap things up. We're going to give you an opportunity to also vote on our next week's topic. So don't miss that, and don't miss all the great stuff that we've got coming up on the Retro Network. So we will be back in just a minute. Hey everyone, this is Jason reminding you of our Drive-In 95 podcast series on Patreon, where we are going through 12 movies that influenced us from 1995. Here's a quick snippet from our first episode on Tommy Boy. Favorite scene in the movie? My, I've got so many nominations, man. I'm going to nominate what I'm calling the wedding dance through the funeral of Big Tom. And you get that wonderful shot. It's probably the best shot of the movie of them all leaning in towards him, looking at him, and then when they lean up, they're at the funeral. It's just such a cool transition there. The burning car sales pitch when they're in the with that salesman, and Tommy goes through his whole spiel with lighting that car on fire. The gas station scene with the door of the car.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
At the diner with Helen, which is when they're talking about that, and he does that 180 with her heating up the wings for him.
Mm-hmm.
The quick one where Tommy is pissing behind the car.
Yes. I have been through that many times. Well, I ain't going to say many times. I have been through that, and I have done it to other people. So.
The bees in the car trick. The airplane safety demo.
He's a big dumb animal, folks.
Yes. And then right after that, Tommy in the airplane bathroom. Any other ones you want to throw in?
The scene at the hotel. Well, actually, two of them.
Yeah,
the one with the girl in the pool, and then when he's doing the housekeeping bit.
Oh yes, yeah.
the scene walking through the factory with his dad, Big Tom. When
No, I
Tommy
didn't.
comes home from college and taking the tour of the plant and getting his office and everything. I thought that was a really good sequence, too.
Yeah.
Got cat-like reflexes. Whop, whop, whop.
It was certainly a fun time going through Tommy Boy, and we are looking forward to doing more movies from 1995 coming up. If you will click over to patreon.com/The Retro Network, support us at that $5 level, and you will get all of those new episodes from the TRN Drive-In 95 series. We sure do appreciate your support and hope you will consider joining us over on Patreon this week.
All right, we're back to wrap up the show for this week. And as far as our topic for next week, I was telling Mick that our time capsule from 1995 was really popular. One of actually the most downloaded show we've had this year. And I think we're going to do another time capsule, and we're going to give you the choice of year to feature in the time capsule. And these are the years that we came up with here. 1980, so that would be 40 years ago. Gosh, I'm old as dirt.
Yeah,
40 years ago. 1984, which was might be my favorite of the 80s, just the movies that were out on television and everything that came out in 84. 1989, that's a great year for one obvious reason I can think of, the summer of Batman. 1993. So those are your four choices: 80, 84, 89, and 93. 93 was a great year too.
Mm-hmm. And like we did last time on the 95 edition, we'll hit the news highlights and movie and music and TV highlights and other events. And of course, 93 would probably have more internet computer highlights than the other years.
That's true. Yeah. Technology. But I don't know. There's still, back in 84, we were probably, talking VHS and Betamax and all that stuff too,
But we'll hit the toys and the video games and everything from those years.
Yeah.
That
If
was
you
a
have
fun episode to record back when we recorded it. Not only was it a big listener favorite, but it was one of my favorites too.
Yeah. It's just going a deep dive on everything and then giving you a few items from every category was great. And then choosing what item to put in the actual time capsule. So, this will be another fun show to put together, and obviously it translated well to you listeners out there. Also wanted to throw out one shout out, the Earbuds Podcast Collective. You can find them earbudspodcastcollective.org. I ran across these guys this week and saw that they were on Patreon, ended up supporting them over there. They're just had a unique idea to bring podcasters together through mainly a newsletter, which is put together by actual just podcast creators, not themselves. And they put it out, I think, once a week. And you get 5 shows curated by basically a content creator. They'll throw in probably their show and 4 others that they recommend. And it's just a unique way to get eyes on different shows that you probably never heard before. I sent you a statistic this last week about how big podcasting is, and I think we said more than 72 million people listen to a podcast on a weekly basis. That's a lot. And just the amount of podcasts that are out there is overwhelming. So I don't know. I just thought it was a great idea to just a unique way to get new podcasts in front of people. And so I was like, let's go ahead and support them. And we're, podcast driven here at the Retro Network with all the shows that we give you each week. So check them out this week as you're maybe looking for a new show. And I'll put a link up in the show notes to go check them out with their e-newsletter. But what do we have coming up, Mick, as far as our stuff goes?
Well, let's see. The next episode of the Wax Pack Flashback is near and dear to both of our hearts. American Gladiator cards from 1991. Over on Patreon, the Fashion Files that would have just dropped as you're listening to this was on the Swatch Watch phase of a lot of people's lives back then. And,
how many could you put on your arm?
Some more video of the week to get you through the hump days and stuff. And I got something new coming to Patreon this week, so you can keep your eye open for that.
Okay. The big thing this week, too, tomorrow, as you're listening to this on Tuesday, there is a new drive-in podcast coming, not hosted by Mick and me, but hosted by Adam and Michael of Wizards, and they are going to run down Dick Tracy from 1990.
I am so excited for that.
I am too. And so they're going to use basically the same format that we came up with as far as the fun little awards we give out to the MVP of the movie and who stole the show in a minor role, and give you all those fun facts and details about Dick Tracy that you probably have just never heard of. So I'm actually putting the podcast together as we're recording this and enjoying the listen. So this is going to be a great show that I hope you guys will enjoy.
I'm really excited because I love the format we come up with for the drive-in, and I'm excited to hear other people put that format to use on the drive-in. And I'm loving what they're doing with the Wizards podcast. If you haven't listened, a new episode just dropped this past week, episode 4. And I tell you, I'll put it out there now. If you're listening, you got a movie you want to see a drive-in done on, get in touch. There's no reason you can't do an episode of the drive-in and talk about your favorite movie and share it with the world. So yeah, it's open. The drive-in is always open.
Yeah, that was just great that since they're doing bi-weekly that they agreed to do one, and we're going to fit it in between their regular shows to give you a little 90s comics in the meantime. And Adam is usually putting together something for that off week that they're not releasing a new episode anyway. So it was great that they agreed to come on and do that. Also coming this Friday, a Sequel Quest Rewind episode for Hitch 2. I've seen Hitch, I think, one time with Will Smith and Kevin James. And I didn't mind it at all. So they were going to give you a sequel to that this Friday. And then, of course, we've got our regular features throughout the week. Tomorrow is Way Back Wednesday with Eric. And then on Friday, you're going to get Picard Episode 5 review from Eric's son, Brady. So, and those have been fun. The last couple of weeks, he's kind of switched that up and just pulled out 5 things that he came across while watching the episode. And it's a really fun read, even for somebody like me who has not subscribed yet. But the format is great, and we're very grateful for Brady, and even for Gary, who came on for one episode to help review that show for everybody who's enjoying that and watching that from week to week. So that's what we got coming up, and I'm sure we've got some other little features and stuff too we'll be throwing up there throughout the week. But we appreciate everybody coming on and listening, and also catching all of our features on the website. Remember, you can find us at TRN Social on Twitter, at Yesterdayville for Mick, at RD80s for me. And we would appreciate, as always, if you would leave us a review. Just share us this week. If you like the show, share it with somebody, and tell them why you like us. You know, word of mouth is still a good way to market to people, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. If you like us, tell your friends. If you don't like us, keep your damn mouth shut.
All right. On that note, this was a fun episode.
I'm serious.
I know you are. Well, that was a fun episode to put together. Oh, I did want to mention too, of course, we've got the second grocery stories that I've got pretty much ready to go. We'll release that next week for everybody over there on Patreon. But remember to go check out that first episode as well this week over there, and listen to us talk about our days working at the grocery store. So, man, this is a fun episode.
Yeah,
had a lot of fun this week. And a lot of that has to do with your feedback. So we appreciate that. And make sure you go vote in the poll. I'll have it up as you're listening to this. And we'll close it down somewhere around Thursday and give you a chance to talk about that specific year on Friday so we can get some more feedback as we do the podcast.
1989.
I really don't care, man. Anytime in the 80s is good for me. I even include the early 90s as part of the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
Any of those years are sweet spots for me. So anyway, go vote, and Mick, it's been fun.
Yes, it has. It always is, though.
It is. All right. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.